Okay, so we went upstairs, and the 1,400 girl thing was over a period of 16 years, which doesn't make it any less horrible. It seems like a thing. Now, the Swedish rape thing isn't entirely clear. It depends on whether you're reading liberal sites or conservative sites. Sweden looks pretty rapey, but it might be because Sweden has different rape policies.
Rape was practically unknown in Sweden before the Muslim immigration. And anything that you look at that makes excuses for that is for Muslim rape statistics is suspicious, in my opinion. You could walk down the street in Sweden, and it would be 1 billion to 1 that you would get raped. Now there's an epidemic of them. There's some people believe that 1 in 5 Swedish women is going to be raped, and it coincides with allowing hundreds of thousands of Muslims into their country. Come on.
Well, we looked at a bunch of sites, and the POV on it is whether you're looking at debunky sites or conservative sites or liberal sites. So okay, so let's...
I don't buy it.
All right, in my mind, it's not entirely clear that there's...
Since when has a Scandinavian country had thousands and thousands of rapes?
I don't know.
It never happened when we were young.
All right, so let's talk about, let's say, I'll give you that there are aspects of Islam that lead certain people into being assholes, even dangerous and homicidal assholes. I mean, you've got ISIS, which is...
Well, the prophet of Islam kept slaves and raped many of them.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that 1.3 billion or the male half of 1.3 billion are all raping.
Well,
but hold on.
The average Nazi didn't kill Jews. It's just, you don't need them all to feel that way.
Yeah, but 1.3 billion Muslims aren't jihadists. They're just not. The
majority of Germans weren't in the army.
All right, so...
It was only about, 8%.
So let's build from here. For 25 years, I checked IDs in bars. And in the happening bars I worked in, I knew that about 1 person in 90, on average, was going to give me a fake ID. And I developed sophisticated means of figuring out who was lying to me about whether they were old enough to come into the bar. And to the point where I was able to root out the liars with a success rate of well over 96%. At times I got up to, I was able to nail 99% of the underage trying to get past me, which is... I was the best fake ID checker in America for a while. Or catcher in America. Anyway. So you want an absolute ban on Muslims coming into the U.S.?
You want an absolute ban. If somebody is determined to be an ally of our country, somebody that can help us, then we can make exceptions, reasonable, common sense exceptions.
So you agree with me?
Well, we don't need 1 million a year, which is what we have now.
But you agree that there is some kind of screening methodology that reduces the likelihood that somebody is an asshole jihadi Muslim?
Well, if the King of Jordan needs to come here to deal with us about something, I'm fine with that. If there's the famous example is the Iraqi interpreter that helped our troops and saved American lives.
Yeah.
But frankly, if you want to know the truth, I don't think we should be letting more people from England here. I think we've got enough people here. Let's just absorb the people we have. This is the highest number of immigrants that we've ever accepted in the history of the United States.
How many people are we accepting?
Well,
you're saying this
over
1.5 million per year rate is too high.
We should cut it down to a trickle. It should just be...
How much is a trickle?
I don't know. The immigration from the whole world to the United States, in my opinion, should be maybe less than 100,000 for the foreseeable future, until we can absorb the people that we've let in.
How do you absorb them? What determines absorbing them?
Well, I would give it a generation. That's what we used to do in the past. This
No,
is
no.
all new. This is
What was the rate of immigration in the 30s and 20s? We had some strict policies back then. What was the rate? Because you're saying knock the rate down to one in 3,000.
I'm saying that the United States.
1/30th of 1%.
Right now, I don't have the statistics at my fingertips. I know for certain that we've never accepted so many immigrants before. And
Right.
this started when the Democrats figured out that 4 out of 5 immigrants would vote Democrat. So they passed a law under Ted Kennedy in the 70s, maybe even the 60s, that we would start bringing in huge numbers of immigrants from the third world. Ted Kennedy was in charge of, in Congress, got an immigration act passed that would ensure that the U.S. would bring in millions and millions, the highest number of immigrants we've ever had from all over the world.
Haven't
And-
we largely benefited from bringing in immigrants with
Well, I mean, it's not a question of have we benefited, it's a question of is enough enough? And I'm saying we're not absorbing our immigrant population as well as we used to. We have, 80% of immigrants now from all countries go on welfare.
no way?
Absolutely true. And you know what? If I'm wrong, maybe it's 60%, but it used to be 0. So, what we're doing is we're bringing in millions of people from the third world.
You want to reduce the rate of immigration to 1/30th of 1% of the U.S. population. The current rate, if what you're saying is 1.5 million a year, is little less than 1/2 of 1% of the current U.S. population. I'm saying that there's no way that the rate has ever been as low as 1/30th of 1% in all of U.S. history.
Okay. I'm saying that there were times, I believe during the Depression, we hardly allowed any immigrants in at all. There have been times in U.S. history when immigration was simply cut back completely. I can't remember exactly, I gotta be honest with you. I think after World War II for a few years, we didn't allow hardly any immigrants in.
Why?
Because we didn't need them. We had unemployment, we had very little aid we could give people, and we had poverty, and we figured we would just take care of our own for a while. What is happening is we're bringing in millions of people from countries where they can't make a living in their own countries. And it's putting a tremendous burden on our social services, on our welfare state, and people are not assimilating like they used to. They come here and they go right on welfare to a great extent. At least well over 50%.
When the Irish came in the 1800s,
There was no welfare state.
no, they got hooked up with the machine politics, and they received help through other means.
No, they didn't. They worked their asses off, and maybe the church helped them. But the point is that we haven't absorbed the people we have here now. If you look at Minnesota, a lot of those Somalis, we're bringing whole villages over from Somalia, and they're not assimilating, and they're going on welfare, and the crime rate is skyrocketing. I'm sorry, but the United
Hold on.
States cannot take in.
You're saying there's a huge Somali crime rate in Minnesota.
Yes.
Well, what are they doing?
Crime? I don't know. We're bringing in people that can't make a living in Somalia and putting them in Minnesota. Why are we doing that? How does it help the United States? You have to understand, we're not a depository for everybody that needs a break. And even if we were,
All right, so,
we've done
okay.
our bit. We've done enough. Now it's time to take care of Americans.